Packet Tracer Activity 10.3.5 Troubleshoot Default Gateway Issues. In this activity, you'll be troubleshooting problems that are not allowing connectivity properly between the different PCs and the networks. This will include more than just default gateway issues. You've learned of Cisco's troubleshooting techniques, but there are many other types of techniques, but they basically all follow the same guidelines. So with Cisco, in this particular exercise, we're going to be doing the isolate, determine a solution, implement the solution, test, and then repeat back to pick a solution. And then if it's fixed, then we document. So in the first part of this exercise, we're going to gather some information before we even begin the troubleshooting. So what we need to do is we need to fill in this portion of the document. Now I've went and pulled up the packet tracer document associated from the student side so we can actually enter data into here. So the first thing it's asking under switch 1, what is its default gateway? So let's go to the command line here. And I need to get to an enable level. And then I have to use a particular command to look at the configuration. Probably remember that's show running config. Let's get a little ways through here. And, well, that's interesting. I don't show a default gateway here. So typically the default gateway would show up here. So that's telling me some interesting information here. So that's not what's going on here. Why aren't you showing me the right color here? Oh, that is odd. Oh, for some reason the font's really tiny. There we go. So let me delete that. And I'm just going to say no default. Alright, I don't like that. It's red. Change it back to that. And no icon. And why is that? Interesting. Let's do it this way. Sorry, was not expecting the document to do this. Alright, so switch doesn't have a default gateway. Switch 2. Let's do the enable command and show running config. There we go. So there's the correct gateway. So at least it has a gateway. It may not be the correct gateway. Let me say it that way. Interesting. You still decide to be red. I must not have done this to everybody. Okay. So let's go to PC1. Let's go to the configure. Oh, it's not going to let us use the configuration. Alright, so we'll find it here. So I'll do the ipconfig. So this one's 192.68.10.1. And this is the same one as I would have hoped. PC3. Okay, this is 192.168.11.1. And the last one here. This is different. That's not a good thing. That makes me start to wonder already that there may be some problems. Okay, so let's move down to the next piece here. So we've done some documentation to give us some idea of what's happening or what's configured in this network. And now we need to do some connectivity tests. So one of these tests is already done. So we've done a connectivity test between PC1 and PC2, and that was not successful. So this is already, they've determined what they think is the issue and a proposed solution. It hasn't been verified yet, so that means this has not been fixed. So now we need to do some other tests. So here we go, PC1 to switch 1, PC1 to router 1. So let's go ahead and we'll run these. So I need to do a ping from PC1 to switch 1. The switch 1 IP address is 192.168.2. Okay. Now this isn't looking good so far. It's getting kind of slow. Alright, continuing to time out. So there's definitely a problem. Some sort of a problem happening here. And it may have to do with, as it's stated down here, this may be the issue. So that was not successful, but I'm not going to worry about the issues at this moment. Oops. Alright, I'm trying to change these so we can see them. So that was not successful. So let's go PC1 to router 1. So router has 168.10.1. So we'll rerun the ping. I'm going to probably say if it didn't ping the switch properly, it's probably not going to ping the router properly. I paused the video there for a moment, but you do realize that if you look up here that it did not ping properly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put no in here. Now what we need to do next is we're going to need to add a group of tests that we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some tests up here, and as I've seen before, this document made by Cisco has a lot of extra stuff in it. So let's see. So we did PC1 to PC2, PC1 to the switch, PC1 to the router. Why don't we add in PC2 to S1 and PC2 to R1. So then we get a real good picture of what's happening here. I think I'm also going to do switch 1 to R1. Now this only accounts for this portion of the network. What about this portion of the network? I'm going to most likely need to do all of these same troubleshooting techniques. So I'm just going to add a bunch of columns here, and I'm going to make a separation here just to make it a little easier. And I'm just going to change the information. This will be the switch 2, router 2, switch 2, router 2, 2. Okay, so now we've went through this network and this network, but we also need to do an across network connection test. So why don't we do PC1 to PC3, PC1 to PC4, and then we'll just do the same thing for PC2 to PC3 and 4. And this should be appropriate to see if all of the devices are communicating to one another. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this on hold. And I want you to go ahead and do your own testing here and see what you come out with and see if it is the same as mine. Now that we've completed the testing, let's go ahead and look at what issues we've come up with. So PC1 seems to be having a lot of trouble. Can't communicate to anybody in its own network. See, PC2 is working fine, connecting to its network with the exception of talking to PC1 and the switch. So this network the issue seems to be possibly surrounding PC1 at this point. Let's see, switch one to the router. Yeah, so that worked. So if we go back down here, we notice that PC3 can't talk to the switch. PC4 can't talk to the switch, and the switch can't talk to the router. So that makes me think there's a problem on the switch here. And PC1 seems to be the only device that can talk cross-network to any other device at this time, because it can talk to PC3 over here. So let's go ahead and try to figure out what's going on. Let's just start by focusing on the 10.0 network first. Now there's already an issue that's been determined, and that's the IP address, and I've already looked at that here, and let's go ahead and notice that the IP address here is 168.11.10. That's not in this network, so that cannot be used here if we want to communicate within this network. So we're going to need to change that to its appropriate address. So we're going to use the IP config command for this. So let me just do ipconfig /? to see what the command line is for this. So we have to do ipconfig, and then we have to do an IP address 192.168.10, and this one is .10. This is a /24, so we'll just do 255.0. So if I do an IP config now, we should have the appropriate IP address. So let's go ahead and run the ping from PC1 to PC2 again. So ping 192.168.10.11, and it works. Okay, so that fixed. So yes, we can go ahead and do a verification here. Actually, let me just do the formatting here and then delete this. So verified, yes. So that one's working. So now can PC1 talk to switch 1? Well, let's go ahead and give that a try. So that's ping 2.168.10.2. Okay, there's still a problem here, so we're going to need to go back to this. Oh, look at that. It did work. I was working a little bit too much in the future. So this seemed to be the problem. So the problem seemed to be this. So I'll just put that here. We actually didn't have to do anything to solve that problem. And then let's do to the router. That's 1. And that router worked as well. So now we've fixed those problems. So let's go ahead and go back down. Let's go PC3 to switch 2. So here we have, let's see, we're having an issue with PC3 pinging switch 2, which is here. So let's go ahead and look at PC3's information first. So let's see, I need to do an IP config. And let's check here. That IP address looks right, subnet resc is right, and the gateway is right. So I don't see an issue there with the switch. Or excuse me, with the PC. So let's go to the switch. Enable this, and let's do a show running config. Let's get to some information here. Alright, so there's a problem. So the reason we can't ping it is because the IP address has not been set. So that's something we need to fix. So let me go ahead here first. I'm just going to write down what the issue that we seem to have found is no IP address on switch 2. And I think the solution is add IP address. Well, let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll try to verify that. So I need to get to the configuration level, go to the interface VLAN 1, and then put an IP address here, 192.168.11.2, and our subnet mask. Okay. So now let me go back to PC3, to the command prompt. Go back down here and let's do the ping 192.168.11.2. Let's see if it works this time. There we go. Outstanding. So that seemed to fix that issue. Let me go ahead and finish up my documentation here. So that worked then. Alright, so PC4 to switch 1. I'll bet you doing this fixed that problem, but let's see if it did. So ping 192.168.11.2. There we go. It did fix the issue. So we'll go ahead and put that here. And let's see, switch 2 to router 2. Most likely that will have fixed the issue as well. Let's exit out of here and go ping 192.168.11.1. There we go. So that fixed all of the issues for this network that we've seen. But what about cross-network? We've got some cross-network issues here. So PC1 can't talk to PC4. At least it couldn't. Now we did make a change up here, didn't we? So that may have fixed this. Let's go ahead and run that test again. So we'll do a ping 192.168.11. This is PC4, so that'd be .11. Let's see what we get. We still have a problem there. So this did not fix the issue. So let's go ahead and look at PC4 itself and see if we can find out what might be the issue. So let's do an IP config. Let's see, we have an IP address, a subnet mask. Those both look right. Default gateway. Oh, that does not look right. Default gateway needs to be the router. And the default gateway is 11.1. So we'll need to change that. So let's do the IP config again, but with question mark. So let's see. So default gateway, it looks like we just type in the IP address. So we'll go IP config 192.168.11.1. And that did not like that. What did I do wrong? Oh yes, now I realize I have to do the IP, the subnet mask, and then this is an optional parameter. So I'll just need to type all of that in. So it'll be IP config 192.168.11.11. 255.0 and then the default gateway 192.168.11.1. Okay, so let's just verify that. Okay, now we have the appropriate default gateway. So let's go back and run the command again from PC1. See if I can ping it this time. Now we still have an issue, so we might have to look into this a little deeper. ran the IP config again here, and it looks like for some reason the default gateway fell out. So let's go ahead and run that command again. Run the IP config again. Let me run it again just to make sure it's still there. Then let's run the ping command again here. There we go. So for some reason we did fix the error, or had the right solution, but our initial attempt to fix it failed. So let me go ahead and let me update this here. So the issue, we believed it was with initially, hold on just a moment. Okay, we initially believed that the default gateway is wrong, and we fixed default gateway. That fixed that issue. Alright, so now let's see the problem between PC2 and PC3. So let's just go ahead and run a ping command for that. So we're going to go ping 192.168.11.10. Okay, that one's working here. So that was fixed earlier, it looks like, when we probably put the IP address. Let's see, what did we do? Not quite sure what we did that fixed that. I'd have to spend a little bit of time of thinking. Now let's just do PC2 to PC4 instead. This is most likely going to work now as well. Okay, so as we worked our way down here, there were multiple problems here. So we had an IP address missing on PC1, or the IP address was incorrect on PC1. We didn't have an IP address on switch 1, and we had a default gateway wrong. There's also one other thing, if you remember me mentioning, is when I was looking at the PCs up here in the switch 1, there was no default gateway on switch 1. This would cause the problem, but I didn't do it in our actual tests here. If we were trying to ping switch 1 from a remote site, this network over here, we wouldn't be able to see switch 1. So if I were to do that from, let's say, PC3, if I were to ping 92.168.10.2, it's not going to resolve. So in order to do that, I would have to go ahead and I'd add an IP address to the switch. Okay. Overall, this has solved all problems, and hopefully it's given you an idea of how someone would go about troubleshooting network issues. This ends this video.